Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to this special edition of Newsroom. I'm your host Omar Khalid. But as you can see, we are not in the studios right now. You can't see the digital background that we normally have for our show. We are here in the outdoors in an office because it's a special occasion. Why is it a special occasion? Because we have people from the GSMA who are here to collaborate with a Pakistani organization to improve not only the digital access of people in Pakistan to smartphones, but also to enable them to become masters of their own destiny, that is to become entrepreneurs. What does GSMA stand for? I'd like to really ask you that question. Even I did not know till yesterday. So GSMA stands for Global Services of Mobile Communication Association. All SIMs need to be accredited by this organization across the world, not only in Pakistan. And they not only look after the mobile companies, but also after their interests. That is why the GSMA is here, because they want to collaborate with countries such as Pakistan to improve their digital sector and also to make the people who are in Pakistan from those sectors who do not have access to smartphones and have the zeal, the zest, the passion to do something with their lives, but don't have the means to do so, don't have the technology to do so. This is where this collaborative effort between GSMA and Kistpay, an Pakistani organization, comes into play to give that access to those people who are in the rural areas, who are in those little small towns, who have the ideas, who have generated lots of ideas, but don't know how to put them across on the digital divide. This is to give them the necessary skill sets and the tools through smartphones so that they can do the needful. We have a wonderful panel of guests today with us who have come from different sectors. Let me introduce them to you one by one. On my very right is Julian Gorman. Julian is the head of Asia Pacific GSMA. He leads a highly experienced cross-functional team to advance the impact, growth and sustainability of digital economies by collaborating between the mobile industry, policymakers and ecosystem. He has over 20 years of commercial and marketing experience along wholesale, business, regulatory policy and digital transformation. He has also pioneered new digital partnerships and business units in mature and emerging markets across Africa, Europe, Australia and Asia with industry leaders that include Vodafone and Ooredoo. Now, he has been recognized for his leadership in digital innovation, digital women, health and agriculture services with industry awards and grants. So, of course, a multiple award winner gentleman is here with us. Julian, thank you very much to be with us in our show. Next, we've got Asadullah Khan Niazi Saab. He is the head of monitoring and strategy at Universal Service Fund. Now, the Universal Service Fund, ladies and gentlemen, has been established by the government of Pakistan, the Ministry of Information Technology, to spread the benefits of telecom revolution to all the corners of Pakistan. It promotes the development of telecom services in unserved and underserved areas throughout the length and breadth of the country. Asad, thank you very much to have joined us.
Thank you so much, Omar. Thank you.
On my left is Asif Jafri, CEO of Kistpay, the organization that is starting it all, this initiative along with GSMA. Kistpay is a BNPL or Buy Now Pay Later platform that has been registered with the SECP, aiming to enable the next billion users to come online. Now, Kistpay's headquarters are registered in Abu Dhabi's global market. You have been putting special focus on smartphone penetration to enable lives of underserved population. Your belief is that everyone deserves the benefits of a digital connected life, and you have also a Sharia compliant financing model. You aim to make access to quality and smartphones as easily as possible for everyone. Asif Jafri, welcome to our show.
Thank you very much for having me here.
And finally, we've got the only lady. If I was in another show, I would have been told that this is not a gender, there's not proper gender parity in this show. But nevertheless, you are one woman who can overpower so many men, Jeanette. Isn't it so? Jeanette Whyte, Head of Public Policy Asia, APAC, GSMA. Your role includes providing public policy support for mobile network operators on telecoms, data privacy, spectrum policy, 5G and competition policy. 5G, I have a lot of questions that we should ask after the show. Before joining the GSMA, you ran a telecoms media and technology consultancy firm You led a wide range of projects, including development of fixed broadband strategies and business aims for mobile operators across Asia, China, Hong Kong, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Macau, Philippines, Singapore, South Korea, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. I had to say this, Jeanette. You know, we need to introduce you properly. Jeanette Whyte, thank you very much and welcome to our show.
Thank you for that nice introduction.
Let's begin with you, Julian, our multiple award winner gentleman, and of course, the person who I've heard has a lot to say when it comes to GSMA. What is this smartphone for all initiative, and why, in your point of view, is it important for Pakistan?
I think for Pakistan and for the world generally, a smartphone in the hand of every person allows people access to education, health, commerce, setting up their own business, being part of the digital society, and being part of the digital economy. And so globally, I mean, digital economies are growing at 3 to 4 times the speed of the traditional economy. And being able to create, with a smartphone, include anybody, whether they're in the city or the far reaches of a country, as long as they've got connectivity, a smartphone gets them online and enables them. At a national level, a connected population is an asset. It's a globally competitive asset, attracting investment from digital companies and ecosystem from around the world, and it drives innovation to solve local problems, solve local challenges, and create that inclusive digital economy. So for Pakistan, why it's so important is because Pakistan needs, the economic growth. There's challenges that need to be solved locally. It's an aspiring, emerging nation, and lots of energy and enthusiasm, as you mentioned, people, lots of talent and willingness to do things. And I think this a connected population, which requires getting everyone a smartphone, is the key to enabling that to happen.
I think that's very important, and we know that Pakistan is an emerging population. Majority of our population is made of youth that are below 30 years of age. So that determination to do something with their lives is there, but the means to do so is not present. So herein comes initiatives such as yours. How, in your point of view, does Pakistan compare to regional peers on its journey to become a digital nation? We know that Pakistan does want to become that. It has the resolve to make it. But what's your point of view on this?
So Pakistan has certainly been challenged with local economics and natural disasters in recent times, but from a more the digital ecosystem, digital society point of view, I mean, it is in the league tables, at the lower end of the league tables, and there's a number of reasons behind that. But I mean, moving forward, the challenge is maintaining the pace and actually keeping up in a competitive environment. Really, the global digital economy is a competitive space, and it's not about just how fast or how growing the nation is alone. Actually, it needs to consider it in a regional context or a global context. And I think in that, as we globally enter the 5G era, Pakistan needs to invest and needs to move forward, make some very bold steps in the policy and regulatory space to enable the country to move forward, keep pace, and maybe grow to that digital Pakistan vision and be a regional leader.
I hope that it becomes that sooner than expected. Jeanette, let's come to you. And I'd love to ask you many questions, but I know that you're a bit media shy. What needs to be done in your point of view to ensure that Pakistan can deliver its digital Pakistan vision?
I think there are quite a few things from both the industry itself and the ecosystem players, and also from the policymakers. So we've seen a lot of good work done from the industry on their initiatives to roll out the network. There's a good 4G network covering a large proportion of Pakistan. But as Julian mentioned, to really get use of the internet, you need a smartphone. And smartphones are very expensive. And more importantly is the reason why they're expensive, because there's a huge amount of tax on them. And in fact, taxation in Pakistan is very high, one of the highest in the region. And I know we've got tough economic climate at the moment, but actually increasing taxation on this area is actually probably quite, might be a short-term gain, but over the long term is probably going to hurt, the adoption of smartphones. So that's affordability is what we mentioned there really, but then there's also the things about, well, why do I need a smartphone? Is it because a farmer or thing, I can do what I want. I don't really need that. He might not be able, or she might not be able to read or write. So therefore, using that smartphone is a lot more complicated. So there are things like digital skills that need to be done. None of this can be done on its own, though. It's really what I think you'll hear amongst this conversation today will be about partnerships, collaboration, and working together. And you know, GSMA has been working with the policymakers as well as the industry to try and make, you know, do what we can in this challenging environment to enable more people access to the internet through a smartphone.
I think that's very important to give people an enabling environment. When people have an environment, is then that they, you know, utilize their skills in the necessary manner for, you know, further enhancing not only themselves professionally, but also the people around them. Because, you know, one person who becomes media aware or tech savvy can enable other people around him or her to also become a tech savvy, which brings me to my next question. And Asif Jafri, you know, I have a lot of questions. I went to your website, it was a very interesting website, and you know, the first things I said, oh, you know, I have to ask him many questions about the advanced smartphones also, but after the show. What is the roadmap in your point of view or strategy that is required to usher smartphone revolution in rural Pakistan? Jeanette just talked about that. Would you like to highlight our perspective as far as that is concerned?
Yeah, we need to understand the journey, how people actually buy a phone, right? And in Pakistan, 98% of the population buy the phone through their local retailers. It's not through the telecom operators, which is generally the standard practice in the West. You know, you get a contract from a telecom service provider for a year or two and you stay with them. But in Pakistan, since telecom operators do not provide credit services, and in the absence of documented income, in fact, no financial institution provides any credit services to this bottom of the pyramid, right? So the way to solve it is basically to handle them, which Gentles mentioned that, you know, the education piece needs to be there, right? So these retailers are actually the real influencers, helping them to convert from a basic feature phone user to upgrade them on a smartphone users, because it's very overwhelming experience when you get, you know, a smartphone for the first time. You really don't understand what's happening. So, you know, the retailers there, they help them, you know, they do the whole hand holding, right? That, you know, you start this, you open this, and then you register with the WhatsApp, with Gmail, and basic of the services, Facebook kind of thing. Because what is the first thing that consumer uses when they get the smartphone is they're calling somebody, video calling, and they're getting overwhelmed. Oh wow, this is amazing, right there.
And you know, getting in touch with anybody across the world, their family
across the world, right? Which is otherwise it's very expensive, right? So they do the free call, and they not only will do speak only, but they're seeing the other party, they're the family member across different countries. So, you know, they really like it, the experience, but they don't know how to do it. And they're very afraid that if they press the wrong button, what goes wrong, right? So it's a hand-holding experience.
Really, the fact is, Asif, you have to press the button once to understand if it's right or wrong, you know, and then you kind of don't repeat.
Well, honestly, I think people in my circle, in fact, I myself, I'm an iPhone user, so for me, it's there's no much
Likewise.
of a, like, you know, it's a very simple choice. A new iPhone comes and you can get it, right? But the Android, you know, people generally ask their friend and family on social media. People my age, my friends, which phone should I buy, which phone I should not buy. So basically, it's a little complicated decision. It's not as simple as buying a T-shirt, right?
True, I understand.
So retailers play important role in this journey of handholding. Plus, whenever there's something wrong in the phone, so they also act as a repair shop or something, you know, that needs to be fixed with the smartphone. So it's a hand-holding process for them. So I think the percentage of a population that were to come online themselves, I think we are there. Now the hand-holding part needs to be there, and for that reason, this is a collaborative effort that what we are doing here, Smartphone for All, with GSMA, with all mobile telecom operators, you know, the IT ministry and the PTA, the regulator, as well as the all smartphone manufacturers. So it basically we need to enable the smartphone for all through the smartphone, you know, financing platform. And in the absence of documented income, as I mentioned earlier, the credit facility is not there. So this has to be solved through technology. And you know,
through software that can enable people to pay on a regular level.
Yeah, on a regular level, and the technology that we have enabled is basically what it does is you get the smartphone by paying a small percentage of it, and you can start using it. And telecom operators are coming forward and partnering in terms of giving free data for 6 months, so that people can get, you know, first-hand experience of the smartphone without to worry about paying too much. So they get an experience and they get facility, and they realize the advantages of having a smartphone and what they can do with
that. Is true,
right? So the telecom operators coming in and they are giving free data. So we are facilitating with the initiation of the credit. We are willing to take risk, and we believe that the advantages of a smartphone are so much that people would like to stick with it, and the benefits they can get out of it is, much more than the cost of it.
That is true.
Yeah.
You talked of holding hands, which brings me to our Ministry of IT, our PTA as well. I'd like to refer to, but the Chairman PTA Major General Retired Amir Azim Bajwa said, he said all investors and mobile manufacturers can come forward. We will support them in every way possible. Now, holding hands brings me to Asadullah Khan Niazi, Head of Monitoring and Strategy of the Universal Service Fund. Asad, supply side issues are there, such as manufacturing costs dictated by key components, import duties, taxes. Jeanette has mentioned that transportation charges, inadequate distribution channels that hamper the uptake of smartphones in Pakistan, whether they be low cost or high cost. What needs to be done, in your point of view, on the part of the Ministry of IT and relevant authorities to resolve such issues?
I think before answering this question, let me put the context right for Pakistan. Let me take you 4 years back.
Okay.
We were at a situation when there was coverage gap. There was no coverage in the rural and remote areas, and our major emphasis at that point of time was to provide that coverage. What we in the government and the Universal Service Fund did in the last 4 years, and of course under the leadership of Mr. Aminul Haq Saab, that there was a concentrated effort of providing that coverage. Let me throw you some stats. So we have been in place for the last 15 years. We have been in place for the last 15 years, but the last 4 years have been our most productive. As with respect to the subsidy that we have provided, we have done 60 to 75% of the subsidy that is in the last 4 years as compared to the total 15 years. Similarly, the number of projects that we have done in the Universal Service Fund for the last 3-4 years have been 75% of the total projects. In terms of the optical fiber program, which I believe is one of the most important areas that Pakistan is lagging behind, we have contracted 19,000 kilometers in total, out of which only 11,000 kilometers have been done in the last 4 years. So in terms of that coverage gap that we were at a stage at 4 years back, I would comfortably say that we are at a respectable level. Now comes that part where we say that the adoption gap has becoming an issue. Now, I can safely say that we are at 7 to 10% in terms of coverage gap. What we have found out by the GSMA report is that 57% adoption is there. Only 57% of the people have smartphones. So
compared to the region, in fact.
Yes, of course, and region is 75%, right, Jeanette?
73.
73%. So there, at least in terms of if we say that 90% of the people should have smartphones, so we are at about 30 to 40 percentage points behind that. Now is the time that we start thinking about these initiatives. So affordability, of course, we have talked about it. Jeanette mentioned that digital skills and literacy is one of the major issues. In terms of building that ecosystem, of course, there's a no-brainer that ministry is committed. Ministry is definitely committed with respect to the tax interventions, with respect to bringing in the investors that start manufacturing the mobile phones in Pakistan. So the key word, as everybody is echoing here, is collaboration. Ministry, service providers, and all the necessary stakeholders, the regulatory authorities that have to jointly work together and then move towards that stage. So I mean, there's no brainer. I totally agree that at this point of time, coverage gap takes a back seat, and the adoption gap becomes an important indicator that we should all be working on.
All right. Julian, do you feel that the Ministry of IT and Telecom is on the right track as far as digitalization is concerned, as has been enunciated by the Minister for IT and Telecom? He says that Pakistan is keen to spread connectivity, to boost ICT infrastructure. Do you feel there are certain lacunas that need to be catered to? Do you also feel that GSMA can play an important role with the telecom industry and the Ministry of IT and Telecom? And would you like to give some recommendations in this regard as well?
Sure. I'll take that as two separate questions. To start with, I think the Minister and the Chairman of the PTA and the vision they outline is very much aligned with GSMA. I think everybody around this table agrees a connected population and connecting everybody, inclusive, getting people online is a good thing for Pakistan, generally. On the challenge, I would say where we have the difficulty is how do we get to that vision? How do we get to that destination where everyone is connected? And I think, I was here 3 years ago. We had a number of similar discussions about how do we get the population connected. And following that, there was a number of policy decisions, certainly in the right direction around spectrum, around getting people online, freeing up some of the rights of way, which helps infrastructure rollout. And we've seen some great progress in the USF contributing to infrastructure. But I think there's been a lack of translation of those policies into action, which is now competitively against other economies in the region, which are also competing for these international investment in innovation dollars and infrastructure. It's where Pakistan's falling behind. And I think when I'm talking to the minister, the challenge is how do we take more action? How do we turn those vision into bold steps, which translate in action, which allow the parties in this room and the parties who were at the event this morning to really make the big, bold steps that will change the trajectory of Pakistan's digital journey, which at the moment is falling down compared to the region.
What are the recommendations then of GSMA as far as collaborative effort that you are doing, whether it be this GSM for all or other collaborative efforts that have happened in the past and might happen in the future? What are your recommendations for the Ministry of IT and also for the telecom industry in Pakistan?
Well, I think this morning was actually a good exhibition and show of actually the industry and the government and the ecosystem can come together. I mean, everybody was present in that room, and I think that's very encouraging. And even just the sharing of ideas is a good step because sharing removes barriers and things like that. When it comes down to specific bold steps, we've made a number of specific recommendations in the report we released today, specifically around the areas of taxation on devices. I mean, taxation is not only high here, but there's also disproportionate taxation on telecoms products. We need to stop thinking of mobile phones and telecoms as a luxury. It's an enabler, not only for people's lives, but for the digital economy and for Pakistan. So we need to move past that luxury concept where we can tax it, and because that is constraining growth. There's some other things around challenges of the costs of the industry, large amount of the costs of the industry, so spectrum or equipment comes overseas, is in US dollars, tariffs are in local currency, and with the devaluation of the currency, you see a big divergence in the cost trajectory and that's required to achieve a digital Pakistan and the revenue of the industry. So there needs to be works around that. And even the process for acquiring equipment from overseas, the credit that needs to be required, the deposits need to be made in foreign currency. That is all adding to complexity for investors and costs for investors. Because it's not just about the cost for the equipment, but it's how long does that money need to be sitting in a credit facility or something rather to pay for those things. There's obviously, of course, things on top of that like digital skills and a number of other factors, which I'll let Jeanette make a comment on some of the policy
because Jeanette,
matters.
I'd like to also add to what I was asking Julian. There is a rupee-dollar parity as well, because of which the prices of mobile phones, whether they be not maybe the least expensive, but the mid-range and the high-range like the iPhones and the Samsungs and so many others, become out of reach of a lot of people. Something that a middle-class person could buy, like an iPhone or a Samsung smartphone, he can no longer access it or buy it. He needs to take a loan, or he needs to go, or he needs to really put money on the side for a couple of months or maybe a year or so to buy a phone. A lot of people even joked about selling a kidney to buy a new iPhone. This was the joke going around. So I'm just trying to ascertain how can we move forward in this rupee-dollar parity as far as enabling users to get proper access to good smartphones.
Well, I think. May step back from that. I mean, it is a big issue about the cost of it, and then of course we've got the additional cost on with taxation. So you've got the price is going up, then tax is going up, so increased taxation, so it's becoming even more unaffordable. But let's step back about the equipment that the mobile operators have to build out the networks, and the spectrum. I mean, those are the big costs of the operators, and they have to pay regular, charges, every annual charges. These are all in US dollars, but the revenue, you know, you're charged. You're not charged in US dollars, are you? Your bill comes as, you know, local currency, and you know that was a little while back. It was quite very low, $1.5 US, but it's actually below $1 US now because of, you know, inflation, devaluation. So for the industry itself, this is becoming a very difficult problem. You know, cost going up and revenues going down. So you know, where can you have the money to roll out network, do some of these initiatives that, you know, need to be done, and then of course, you know, from the handset, you know, it's very, very expensive. I mean, we haven't talked about, you know, how you can make them, you know, the installment plans. I know you mentioned that, but there are, you know, those sorts of things then become more and more complex.
Because, you know, Jeanette, outside in different countries, there are all the major mobile operators have systems such as what Kistpay is coming with. All the big phones, you can take on monthly installments all across the world, in the Europe, in even some African countries, in the US. It's a very common practice. Do you feel this is a practice that could also be emulated in Pakistan?
I think so too, and we're sort of seeing some of these. I mean, this is a good example, you know, Kistpay, but actually, you know, if we had a framework that could back up the risk, if you like, of some of these, you know, paying the installments, that would be something that we could, you know, that could be done in Pakistan. It's got some challenges, there's no doubt about it, you know, because there are, you know, we have to have an agreement and make sure that everyone works together on that agreement. But it's something that we should try and do and ensure for so that we can get more people online with reasonable handsets.
All right. Asif, would you like to add something to that?
We need to understand that in developed world, you know, there people have credit scores, right? If they default on one thing, they get blocked everywhere else, right?
Agreed.
So there's a concern that, you know, I have to behave in certain way for me to, you know, keep myself enabled everywhere. But in developing countries like Pakistan, we don't have any recourse, right? If somebody defaults, you know, come and do anything that you can do. So there's nothing much that can be done. So basically that is the reason why we are basically solving it through technology.
All right.
By keeping the phone that we are financing, keeping that as a collateral. If that has some importance and if we block
then
that,
the user loses access to the smartphone.
and then we believe that, you know, the person has made some upfront payment, like 20, 30, 40%, the person has a skin in the game, right? And that keeps him involved till the, you know, the repayment is done. And then we also incentivize user keeping the behavior on the repayments to do the advancement for the next phone for the family member, or to, you know, enable him with the e-commerce and with the opening of mobile wallet, which basically I think would be a win-win from a consumer to the government and everything in between. Because the other challenge that a country has is the, you know, undocumented economy, right? A lot of everybody moves cash, right? So once the person has a smartphone and a way to accept payment in a wallet, right, that also documents the economy. And then we can do a lot of efforts to improve those things. So when it comes to the smartphone and whatever the challenges that we talked about, the industry as well as the you know, telecom industry, the smartphone also, you know, uplift the ARPU. You know, the study that we have seen is basically that if the feature phone user is giving you $50, the ARPU goes up by 3 times. So basically it's a win-win situation, and unless we have everybody on smartphone, we can't really, you know, see the real digital Pakistan vision.
In this collaborative effort that you have made with GSMA, as far as introducing mobile phones on a monthly installment level with the software that enables you to you know, to oversee whether the payments are being done as far as these monthly payments are concerned. There is I mean, you can only buy smartphones that are up to 35,000 rupees.
Well, that's what we are starting with, but that's not our limitation. It's basically right now Nokia and Xiaomi has, you know, made the smartphones compatible with that technology.
All right.
We believe that going forward this will become a standard, right? All smartphones will come with this technology, and this is not technology that we have built in ourselves. We're using some of the Google technology to basically enable this thing. So this is a cloud service, which we believe that going forward all smartphone manufacturers will adopt, because they want to sell more. It's a win-win situation, as I said earlier, right? So just making their product more affordable as well as their product more secure. So right now, if they're selling the phone without this technology, they can only sell it on the full cash basis. But with the enablement of this technology, they can sell it on cash, If somebody wants to buy in cash, they can buy it,
All right.
but they can also buy it on installment. So it's basically enabling smartphone itself to be sold on more than one way.
All right, Jeanette, abroad, how do you do it? I mean, therein also there's a certain system in all the major mobile operators have, that you have to pay. If you don't pay, then the number gets blocked one way or the other, and you cannot use any other SIM on that mobile phone. Which technology do they use?
Well, I think I
Is
might
it
hand that
different?
one over to Julian,
Okay,
actually.
so let's go to
More of
Julian.
it.
Julian, what is the technology a bit more sophisticated than the one that is being used by Kistpay? Is it different? What is
I think the easiest thing would be to say it's different. I think Kistpay is actually a very complex, advanced control to
Okay.
apply the phone. And it's not really right to say that all countries have these capabilities. Prepaid countries around the world tend to not or struggle with financing models for handsets. But advanced Western markets where high penetration of credit risk scoring and things like that, places like Singapore, where a large part of the population will sign up to a multi-year contract. Well, actually, Singapore's not necessarily a good example because they don't lock the phone. But many markets where you do sign up to a contract, the phone will be locked by the network to that network. So it's not to say another SIM can't go in it, but it's to say another SIM from another network can't go in it. And then, of course, if you're on that network, then the network you bought the handset from can have some control over you. It's not there's no universal model, but I think the key is, as Asif said, it's around the credit risk scoring and how do you operate, or how do you help penetrate smartphones further down the market where you don't have credit risk scoring. And I think it's having the technology to lock helps advance that. I know there's other efforts around the world around creating quasi credit risk scoring using call patterns or recharge patterns or else, which also help moderate the decision about the risk. And I think they will also add to this.
But Julian, do you feel that a system, as you say, sophisticated as Kistpay, could be emulated or maybe promoted by GSMA by talking to other countries? Maybe other markets could also use the same system in your point of view?
Definitely. I think, and we've already had some discussions in that regard. I mean, across Asia Pacific, a very diverse region. Everything from Pakistan, large populations, prepaid markets, small countries in the Pacific. Actually the challenge of getting people connected is the same. The economics, fiscal issues around it might be different. Population scales incredibly different. But
So I'd like to add that technology is one piece. The business model and appetite to take risk is also important, equally important, right? The technology is there. If you're not willing to take risk, willing to put the money and the smartphone in the hand of people that you can't reach physically them, because it doesn't justify the business case. So you need to have the appetite to take that risk as well. So we are taking all those risks and taking in Pakistan, making Pakistan as a case study. So that the technology is on cloud, right? It's not just that can be implemented in Pakistan, it can implement anywhere. And we are looking forward to expand and take this technology to rest of the world, because what the aim of the company is to bring next billion users online, not just few millions.
Of course, but we should start with the rural areas and those areas that are where we don't have access to smartphones, mobile phones. Almost everybody has, but the smartphones with the technology maybe to use WhatsApp or other such software that enable you to be connected with other people, with other businesses across the world, where you can enhance your own business because due to which you can become a master of your own business through your smartphone. I think that is the most important part of all that people are doing, and why you are collaborating on this important thing. Yes, Janet.
As I say, we heard today a number of examples where people had actually made businesses out of having a smartphone, and and I think it's one thing we haven't mentioned is about women, empowering women. With the use of a smartphone, we've heard and seen here in Pakistan where women are setting up businesses using their smartphone and being able to sell products and services
so many
online.
success stories of women here in Pakistan.
Exactly. Well, there needs to be more, though. That's the thing.
That definitely will. Thanks to technology such as these, I'm sure when women get access to the right technologies, they can empower themselves even more.
And we heard today of a woman entrepreneur who's brought doctors online and the medicals. And it's a fabulous service. And again, just to give something, I think with like what the governments doing those. So PTA and MOIT have been very helpful in supporting a lot of programs. GSMA has worked with them in combination, and we have done a number of initiatives there. I mean, that's what GSMA's role is. We're about collaboration. We don't favour anyone. We try to bring the whole thing, so together. So if we see what works here with Kistpay, it would be great then to show that in other markets.
So building on what's the discussion going on, and I have a stat. So what we do is that during our monitoring visits in USF, we do a couple of years back. We've started these surveys from the areas, and what we have found out is that with every percentage increase in the usage of smartphones, there's 3% improvement with respect to the meaningful connectivity. I mean, when I say meaningful connectivity, it means that people are using more e-education, e-health, e-economics, and e-agriculture. And of course, the major percentage usage is still with the social media. But these are some heartening stats that even a single percentage increase in smartphone penetration increases 3 percentage points in meaningful connectivity.
Of course, that's important, which also brings me now to the rural sector of Pakistan. And my question is to you, how long, in your point of view, will it take for Pakistan to revitalize the rural sector as far as the digital Pakistan vision is concerned?
But that's a very pertinent question. So what happens is that I started the discussion where mentioning that 4 years back we were at a certain stage with respect to the coverage adoption and coverage connectivity. We are in a far better stead now.
All right.
And I could safely say that in a couple of fiscal years we will be right at an optimal situation as compared to any modern countries or any developed countries. The discussion actually goes back to the actual issue that there's no point in having a coverage where the person or the masses do not have a mobile phone or a smartphone, so that they cannot meaningfully connect with the internet, of course. So that's the actual issue where I would say that every aspect of our society and the industry has to put some component of working in that aspects. With respect to other questions, with respect to other aspect is that with our fiber penetration, that is also one of the important areas that I feel we are building on. We have developed a very modernized program, and I think we're in a better stead going forward.
All right. But Asad, how can we support the consumers' improved access to smartphones in your point of view? Because of course there are market pressures, there's then the rupee dollar parity and so many other factors that kind of influence that. What's your take on that?
I think the most important aspect is basically the taxation that we have already discussed in quite as much detail here. So that's a no-brainer, of course, and as mentioned in the workshop in the morning as well, the ministry is quite committed on that aspect. So that is one part of the discussion, but we've already touched upon other aspects where the affordability is one of the aspects. But we have to look after that digital literacy part and the knowledge part that has to be transferred. And interestingly, in the morning there was one discussion where there was consensus that the biggest touch points or the biggest, the distribution network is with the service providers, the mobile network operators, and they have a strong role to play in that aspect. They can, reach out to the masses, educate them in that respect. So, yeah.
Do you feel that urgent policy interventions can help bridge the digital divide and enable the telecom industry to bring connectivity at par with the developed countries? Because we've got a lot of countries that of course at our own totally different level compared to Pakistan.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no way around it. The policy interventions have to come in place. They have to be practiced. And as I'm just repeating myself again here, the ministry is committed to undertake all these actions. ROW policy was implemented, I think 1 year back. It is showing dividends. I'm referring to fiber again and again because I feel that fiber network enhancement and fiber network laying is one of the important areas that Pakistan has to target going forward. You mentioned 5G in one of the discussions off camera, and that is one of the areas. If we have to move towards 5G, we have to have.
But we will ultimately move to 5G. It's not we have to, we will.
We are moving in that direction. The idea is to have a robust fiber network laid in the length and breadth of Pakistan. So, yeah.
Julian, now we are going to go to a very rapid question answer sessions because we are short of time. Which factors do you feel are contributing to Pakistan's low rankings in the global ICT indices? In your point of view, how can we improve those rankings? Telecom has been declared an industry by the government in 2004, but there are certain issues that you feel are pertinent that need to be highlighted. What are those?
It really is comes down to the getting people connected. I mean, getting a connected population is a number of factors. You know, we've talked about one is the smartphones in the hands. The coverage has been mentioned. You know, we're at 90+% people coverage. So we've got a dormant population there who some of them are connected. We can get online, and it's the policies and process and frameworks required to make those changes, and we've discussed them all before. So I think I also like to just add on the digital literacy and the content and services. So, by example, I know there's a recent decision to block carrier services billing, so the ability to charge things on the carrier bill. That is part of a content ecosystem which creates the purpose, creates the services, which actually, once a person is connected, improves their livelihoods or gives them access to education. So to block access to that carrier billing is to remove those services, so to remove the benefits, remove the incentives for getting connected. We need to do things about that, and I think the government has a strong role to play, not in just stopping, reconnecting carrier services, but also digitizing government and providing reasons for people to be connected, because beyond social media, there is education, health, and everything else, but also connecting people means creating the services. So beyond SMS and calls, let's create the digital database services.
And an environment, an enabling environment with the necessary skill set to be provided to all those people who have access to smartphones, so that they know how to use it and which software and how to use it and how to get access and how to improve their own business acumen as well as professionals. Jeanette, my question next is to you as well as to Asif. What needs to be done to make Pakistan's telecom sector a competitive industry? You have seen many industries across the region. What's your take?
Well, we've talked about a lot of them actually already here, and the thing, I don't want to repeat what Julian has said, but that is basically the foundation of it. I think the thing is we see here is a lot of willingness to do it, and we see some really good initiatives. I mean, one thing was about digital skills, for example. I mean, GSMA has a toolkit, MIST, which we've had is training for digital skills. We've had that translated into Urdu. That's the sort of thing we can do. That's another way, you can do those things, so bringing digital skills online. It's a whole, we have to work together. There's that saying that goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you have to work together. And I think that is the sort of thing we're doing here. And we understand there's big pressures in Pakistan at the moment in particular, but we have to have the vision to see beyond that, because if we keep putting the pressures on, strangling it in effect, the digital economy, it can't grow. So we have to grow the pie to make it bigger, bring more people on, and that has an accelerating effect.
Asif?
I think they have said enough about the how it could be more profitable, the sector, but I think I would say that we don't have any other choice as a nation, right? Even if you like the half of the population is not covered, and if you want to provide them quality education, and even if you open up 10,000 schools in the country, you don't have 10,000 teachers, quality teachers to teach there, right? So there are smarter ways to do it. I think the time to solve things through brick and mortar model has gone. And I think even if you try to do it, it's not wise to do it, and because cost of doing everything has gone so up.
Of course.
So digital is the way forward. And this is a digital emergency, I would rather say. And I think the people of Pakistan are very intelligent. I mean, we are 4th largest freelance community in the world without being given any kind of support to the industry, right? So all of, just all of them of their own have come up to a global level, coming at number 4 in freelance community, and it's no joke. So we just need to enable them. And they will pick it up themselves. And be it you talk about education, be you talk about health, you talk about food, you talk about anything. There are brilliant people out there. We just need to enable them.
That's a very key word, enabling environment, enabling people, enabling the skill sets for the people so that they can properly use their smartphones. So that is very important, which brings me, because he talked about education, healthcare. Julian, GSMA, will it become part of a broader and long-term policy agenda that is aimed at expanding universal broadband coverage that will enable people to access education, as he said, healthcare, banking and other quality of life improving services through smartphone access in Pakistan?
For sure. GSMA's global vision is connecting everything and everybody to a better future. Breaking that down to Pakistan, it's connecting people and supporting the initiatives. And we do that in different ways. We support by coming into the country and helping advocate for policy and regulatory change and modernization. But also, we operate a global platform of global conferences like Mobile World Congress in Barcelona in February. And part of our role is to champion the success. And we look forward to Pakistan and the government's participation in that event, because then we can show off actually what's happening in Pakistan, because that's part of the process of GSMA helping attract the investment and innovation to Pakistan, letting people realize the potential of the market. Because when you stand on the outside, it can often be obscured by stories about floods or anything else, and you miss actually the opportunity and energy inside.
And that's why you guys are here, to understand it from a from a personal perspective on how to bridge that gap, on how to take Pakistan forward as far as the digital industry is concerned. Pakistan aspires to be a leading country as far as ease of doing business is concerned. This is a term that I've heard a lot, and I've done a lot of shows on that as well in the past. What better incentives, in your point of view, can the government offer to boost GSMA and other investor confidence?
Well, I think there's some matters in the industry, some litigation on foot around spectrum and property and with a number of operators. That creates uncertainty. There's from a spectrum point of view, in telecoms, you're talking about investment cycles of 10 plus years. And so spectrum is a major cost, especially in here in US dollars, about outlining or creating a schedule or program so that investors can get an idea of when spectrum will be available so that they can plan their investments. Those things all remove risk. There's some fiscal issues and about the cost of the spectrum that need to be worked on. But it is really around removing risk or mitigating as much risk as you can, and then dealing with the financial matters of taxation or disproportionate taxation and spectrum prices, maybe adjusting payment mechanisms or duration of payments, so that the industry has a firmer foundation to build its investment profile on, and then it can compare that investment opportunity against other markets. And I think that'll be a big step.
Would you like to add to that, Jeanette?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, because without connectivity, we have nothing, and that's why USF has been working so hard to get the connectivity. So we've got that now, but, we have to ensure that there's more investment put in the network, and the mobile operators need to have a good business case. They need to have certainty, and that is what you were saying about attracting investment. And Julian has mentioned a number of points there. So if we can get those things right, that will attract them to do more investment. But they need that. They can't do it. They have other options. They can go and invest in other places. So we have to make sure that that's right.
Are you optimistic? I'd like just a one-word answer, one-phrase answer, Asad, as far as whatever discussion we've had. What do you feel that the government of Pakistan, our Minister for IT, Syed Aminul Haq Saab, and all the PTA chairman, the way they have talked about today on this initiative as well, do you feel that the government and the GSMA, this is the time for all these sectors to come together and the resolve is there from the government?
I think let me say that contrary to popular belief, we are so much excited with the government that we have some passionate discussions before this session in the morning, and we're all passionate that we take this forward with a collaboration effort. We have heard the Chairman PTA, we have heard Aminul Haq Saab in private sessions and in our board meetings. We have these hard talks and discussions where we push ourselves and we move forward. So I'm very excited. I'm very optimistic, and inshallah we'll do well. Yeah.
What's the GSMA's point of view on that, on the outcome of all the meetings that you've held?
I would say the thing to keep in mind is being a pioneer and being a leader doesn't mean being first.
Okay.
And I think Pakistan has an opportunity, has the willingness, has the people, has the energy to be a pioneer and leader. But being a pioneer and leader does mean taking bold steps, turning thoughts and vision into action, and that's the steps we need to take.
Jeanette, would you like to agree with what Julian had to say?
Well, yes, of course I would. But you know, I think the thing is, I feel very. It's my first time actually to.
I hope you've had a good time in Pakistan.
I have, and you know, and it's echoing the points about the enthusiasm, the young population, you know, smart population. So let's make it smart Pakistan. And you know, we've heard those words, and you know, we need the whole of government behind it. We can't just rely on the ministry. You know, there's you know, there are other ministries like finance who need to come together.
It has to be a collaborative effort.
Yeah, it is, and you know, we say this, and we see it in other markets. When you get all the government working together with the vision, not just the Ministry of IT, then you get a better view, because you know, they seeing that bigger vision from a, you know, from a finance ministry, you know, that can education and everything can help.
All right, Asif, final words. No, I mean final words as in the show.
Yeah. So I'm an entrepreneur, right? And entrepreneurs are like, you know, always generally, you know, positive. They like to see the world that they have in their mind.
The glass half full.
Yeah, the versus the what they can see with they realize, right? So we are always living in the future that this is possible, this could be possible. So let's make an effort towards that, and every day we live with that things. And I think I want to see Pakistan, a digital Pakistan, then everybody
Inshallah.
having a connectivity, and really that is the enabling piece of the human beings. As we born free, we should live our life free, right?
Exactly, and with different options that the digital platform can provide us through initiatives such as yours.
Yeah, I'm sure that, you know, the initiative that we have taken, and I said it in the morning, that we can't do it alone. You know, so collaboration is certainly one thing, and I mean, as an entrepreneur, I like to open it, the whatever we have learned so far with everyone, so they can learn from it, they can replicate in other markets, and even in Pakistan, because there's certain level that we can do, right? So,
but we need to go beyond levels. You know, I think we need to push ourselves,
Yeah.
and this, as Jeanette has said, it needs to be an effort that everybody is involved in. Until and unless everybody isn't involved in it, we cannot move the way we need to. The passion is there, the zeal is there, whether it be from your side, from the GSMA side, from the ministry side, but it has to be everybody moving together all at once.
Well, yes, you see, today we say that, you know, majority of the people who are the, you know, game changers were there in the morning, but I believe that some of the finance ministry needs to be there.
All right.
The banking sector needs to be there as well at scale, right? So that they make it part of their product as well.
I think it's important. I think the message will, inshallah, be going across to all the
Today is
different
the
sectors.
beginning. Today
Yes.
is a beginning of a beginning, I would
It's
rather
a
say.
right step in the right direction at the right time. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an extremely interesting discussion as far as I'm concerned, because I'm a tech freak. I love you know, talking technology and how it can improve any economy, including ours, because I am a Pakistani and I'd love my country to, you know, go up there with all the developed countries. And this is a right step in the right direction. The GSMA is here. They're collaborating with an organization such as Kistpay, and the Ministry of IT and Telecom is involved in it as well. The PTA is involved in it as well. We just hope that other sectors pitch in there to sense as well, and it moves together as a collaborative effort to bring Pakistan at par with the developed nations. This is what we all want. Pakistan and Pakistani nation getting up on their feet. We've had floods. We've gone through such a terrible time because of these floods. The 33 million plus people who've been affected, the 1/3 of Pakistan that has been submerged underwater. We need to boost our people in the right direction through the right initiatives, so that they too can stand on their own feet on their own without the help of anybody else. And that is what initiatives like these come into play. Thank you very much, Julian, Gorman, Head of Asia Pacific GSMA. Thank you very much, Jeanette, Whyte, Head of Public Policy Asia, APAC GSMA. I would have loved to hear more of you, but of course, after the show. Asadullah Khan Niazi, Head of Monitoring and Strategy, Universal Service Fund. And of course, last but not the least, Asif Jafri, CEO, Kistpay. I hope iPhones can also come with in the future as far as that is concerned.
We hope Apple collaborates with us.
Well, maybe Apple will be listening. So will Samsung, I'm sure. We bid you farewell from this very important discussion, and I hope the message has gotten across to all those who are listening. Take the right step, make the right decision, get your skill set, and make yourself empowered as a man, as a woman, as a businessman, as an entrepreneur. That is how Pakistan can stand on its own 2 feet. Allah Hafiz.